Buddy.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like the thing that like WWE started to falter for is start like attacking or blaming the fans or having a viewpoint that attacks the fans. Um, and that was like heavily criticized. Where AEW actively does it, but actively said they would be the promotion for the fans. So I mean, I get it's her character. She's gonna say that shit, but it's like at one point in time, do you realize like you're missing out on promote like making money because you're doing that? And I also feel that Britt Baker can shut the fuck up. She's terrible. She's garbage. She's garbage in the ring. And on the mic, she is very, very close to passable, but that's it. She's absolute garbage. She walks around like her arms don't belong. She's a fucking weird ass fucking tarantula.
She Britt Baker, and I flipped over to Thunder Rosa, who is one of the better wrestlers in the world today as far as women go. And I will say that now. And they have her in a program with Britt Baker. And the only reason that match will be worth anything is because not Britt Baker, but Thunder Rosa is in it.
You know what the reason I gave up on W really quick was the fact that they promoted a different style of wrestling. Everything was going to be different, and all they did was basically make the worst, like in an era where like there was a bunch of like push for women wrestlers and women wrestling entertainment. They made the worst women's division known to mankind, and then had no apologies for what the fuck is this. Like, I mean, they just let it happen. I'm like, you're gonna build a brand off of like the wokeness of culture and have like like a transgender or people of all LGBTQ plus, and then you're gonna go ahead and soft serve that shit. You're gonna soft serve it to the point where all you did was use it to build a platform and never deliver on it. That shit, like, I don't understand why people aren't up in arms about like that shit, man. Because it is the worst women's division of any wrestling company known to mankind. It has been. It has not been given any like actual thought process to, except for maybe recently. I don't understand why they've done what they've done, and to promote themselves the way they have, it's a sham. It's a snake oil salesman.
So many people hated the years of WWE and their little tag team phase, Teddy Long. And they still do like big man tag team match in WWE. AEW come along, the new fresh toy. Everybody want to play with the new toy. Tag team this, a tag team that, week after week after week after week. 8-man tag team. Everybody's okay with it. But soon WWE does it. Oh, why they doing this? Didn't they have this match last week?
Right.
But this is what I've said. Like they're copying New Japan. They're copying New Japan in a certain way where like the tag teams are. I don't know. They're everything's an afterthought. I don't know. When it comes to AEW, it's just like the things that they should be focusing on, that should have the most focus, the serious focus on, end up being like somewhat jokes half the time. Everything kind of is like riding that line between like real and joke, and when things get real, they don't deliver. Historically, with AEW,
AEW
is what I'm.
Jeff Jarrett promotion.
I mean, I don't. It's just like I'm past the point of giving it a pass for doing things that are just the same, and I'm holding it accountable for being billed as the alternate and different, and everything's gonna be way better. It's like, man, fuck you. Like, you are not different. All you're relying on is other stars' popularity from other companies, and yeah, you're building up somewhat okay in your own company, but you're also. How could you? Okay, how could you be a company formed in 2019, 2018 probably, but 2019, and disregard like the need of a woman's division. How blind can you be?
They're
And also,
blind
and also,
enough.
and also, like say we're the next version of wrestling. Yet we treat our women like no,
Well,
we don't care.
the only thing, the problem that I have is they started the women's division, and I have nothing against women's wrestling ever. I never have, and I never fucking will. The problem that I have with women's wrestling is this with AEW, mind you, is that they like, well, fuck it. WWE does it. We're going to fucking do it. So we're just going to throw a title on somebody and hope it sticks. Because that is exactly what WWE does.
No, women's wrestling came alive in WWE and then died in WWE almost within 3 years of itself. Like the problem is like women being like good wrestlers and wrestling decently, and like I'll never say like I've never seen a women's match on par with the best men's match, but I've seen a women's match that's really good that's on par with good men's matches, and there I'll say is the future of women's wrestling. The problem is they didn't hang on that. They didn't hang on that laurel of having good wrestling. They reverted to popularity. They reverted to sexuality. That's what all of WWE has done from this point on. Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, any of them, they've all gone back to being Instagram models before wrestlers because it's just another way for them to make money.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it kills. Like I'm looking now and I see like I'm not watching wrestling, right? But I'm looking on Twitter and I see Carmelo's entering, and like I'm like this is no different than Trish Stratus entering 20 years beforehand into the ring.
Not. And it never has been.
But like when you say there never has been, there was that small pocket of chance where women were treated like, and it did like I don't give a fuck what people say. This is 100% on the women of wrestling as much as it is on the wrestling company. They've fallen back into that sexuality is like an easy out.
I'm just gonna say this, and people are gonna be like, "Oh my God, Charlotte this, Charlotte that." You know what? WWE is just waiting for Charlotte to come back, because that's all it is.
Yeah, but meanwhile, Charlotte, all she's doing is doing fucking photo shoots in airports and shit like that.
Well,
no, but I mean, imagine
you say it all the time, Basement. WWE's doing this. Oh my God, Sasha Banks. Everybody's in love with Sasha Banks because every other day she's got a fucking video that she or a picture that she puts out, and fucking everybody's all over it. Charlotte is doing the same thing. This is exactly what they're doing.
I mean, I don't think it's like they can. Okay, here's the thing: they can work it into a storyline, but it's definitely not storyline based. In my honest opinion,
no, it's not.
It's just like I have to be an Instagram model. I have to be loved even when I'm not in the limelight by doing weird poses against a pillar in a fucking airport. Like I don't know. Women's wrestling died almost like literally like a year after it began.
So
there was legitimacy to women's wrestling when Ronda Rousey came in.
When I was flipping through channels on Wednesday and I was watching NXT, went to a commercial. So I'm like, what I do is I flip over to AEW, just see what's going on. And I happened to see, Thunder Rosa's on. I'll watch this for a hot minute. And it's Thunder Rosa hyping up fucking Britt Baker. Like she is the future of fucking women's wrestling and all of this fucking crap. And then I'm like, Britt Baker comes out and puts her in a fucking yes lock, which isn't even a fucking yes lock. And then she has her fucking goon, who she is a goon, hands her a bottle of water and wipes it on her fucking face and said, "What's behind that? What's behind that? What are you talking about? What are you doing? What are you doing to build your women's division?" Oh, so Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker are the future of your division. Thunder Rosa, yes, I can get behind. But Britt Baker, she can just sit there and gobble on Adam Cole's cock because that's all she's good at.
My problem is like,
I guess entertaining compared to anything else she probably does.
I guess it's more like media based, where it's like once like a woman that's a wrestler becomes popular, they become idolized in a really weird way, and it has nothing to do with wrestling. And the problem is, it has nothing to do with wrestling. So then wrestling takes a back seat. Yeah, they might be doing their wrestling day in day out, but the problem is, if they fuck up, if they're terrible, if their wrestling career dies, they have a more lucrative career elsewhere. And when you like present somebody with that, like the amount of effort and everything, like the amount of change, the amount of like difference you're gonna see in a wrestler evolving what their wrestling is. Like if Eddie Guerrero became a fucking Oscar nominated actor, you think he would still be the Eddie Guerrero until he died? No. I mean, when you have this like huge fan base that exists around you that will support you regardless of what you do in the ring or anything else, like Sasha Banks has become The Rock before The Rock became The Rock, if that makes sense. Like she has not established herself wrestling wise, but she's already Hollywood.
Yep, she's there.
And like, though I will say like she's put in the work, and I know she's like a wrestling fan in and out. It's just like her wrestling career. If I looked at it, I'd be like, it lived and died in NXT. After that, I don't give a fuck. And they might blame writers and this and that, but like, I mean, hell, she's acting, she's out there, she's speaking. She sounds like fucking the same cardboard cutout that probably people have sex with in their fucking basement.
Right. I mean, the problem that I see with like 95% of the wrestlers today is they can't take criticism. They can't take it. Like if you say, "Oh, that was a terrible fucking move," well, just watch it to enjoy it. You know what? I watch it to enjoy it, but when somebody says something, maybe they kind of fucking understand what the fuck you're bitching about.
Well, I mean, I feel like that the problem is the wrestling like community, the wrestling enclave of actual wrestlers and everything else, all the minds behind it, have yet to understand the fact that the amount of knowledge that's out there, you can kind of get the background idea of how wrestling is.
JR did it. You've seen it. We've talked about it. I don't even know who it was. Who was it that said, JR said something? Oh, it was Brandon Cutler. And it's like, "Oh, let's just go out and do flippy shit." No, that's not what fucking JR is saying. What Jim Ross is saying is like, fucking act like a fucking wrestler instead of a fucking guy that can do everything that everybody else fucking does.
The thing is, a wrestler is not a gymnast. It's not. It's not the guy that can do the most flips. It's not the guy that can be the strongest in the gym. A wrestler is a nuance, just like any other form of entertainment. You have to learn to kind of balance all those things, which is why, like, I always said, like, when I looked at the guy Ricochet, I'm like, he's a super athlete, but in my mind, he'll never be anywhere close to world champion, because all his laurels rest and die on the fact that he can do more flips and be more agile than everybody else. But the problem is, agility and super athleticism doesn't sell a story in the ring. And a story in the ring is what you're aiming for, man. You can have a lumbering fucking giant that couldn't do a flip to save his fucking life, but if he could tell a story in the ring, he is worth more than Ricochet day in and day out.
So what I'm going to say, and this is, people are just don't seem to fucking understand. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yes, he is a very good wrestler. He was a very good wrestler. Go watch him in WCW. He was a very technical wrestler. When he joined WWE, what happened? He broke his fucking neck. Vince is like, we can't have him doing all this shit because we don't know if he's going to be able to do it. What happened? Stone Cold Steve Austin got so fucking over without doing any of the fucking flippy shit, even doing technical fucking wrestling. It was all about the storytelling and just, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. That's what's missing in wrestling. And apparently, I want to see the flippy shit. That's all I get from fucking wrestling fans anymore. I want to see the flippy shit. I don't want to see the flippy shit. I never wanted to see the flippy shit. I didn't like it back in 1979. I didn't like it in 1985. And I don't like it now. I never
I'm
have.
not.
I never fucking will. I
I'm not.
hate Zack Sabre Jr. I know we give Gina shit, but that guy is absolutely worthless. Worthless. He is a garbage piece of shit, folk style fucking wrestler that I can watch a wrestling show here in Wisconsin every fucking week.
The problem is he is literally has no versatility, and when it comes to wrestling in general, I'm nobody. I'm not talking from a wrestling's point of view. I'm just talking from a critic's point of view or my own point of view. And I'm gonna say, if you want to sell wrestling, learn from the best fucking movies and TV shows you've ever seen. Sell your character, and your character doesn't stop ever. Your character doesn't stop when you're on the mic in the back. The character doesn't stop when you're in the ring. The character never stops. You look at the greats and all these fucking... you've got Sasha Banks and fucking Bayley being like, we love Eddie Guerrero. We're going to dress up like him. Well, fuck you. All you're doing is playing a dress up.
Yep.
Learn the art of telling a storyline as your character in the ring. Sasha Banks and Bayley have never wrestled any different in the ring ever. The problem is, you look at as many people as that are out there that don't like Randy Orton. Randy Orton is the only example I can give at this point that still wrestles of somebody that actually encapsulates this perfectly. It might not be your cup of tea, but I'm gonna say this is the guy. This is what wrestlers. They might be flippy, they might fly all over the place, but encapsulate the idea of being your character in and out of the ring constantly. Don't right now we have Instagram fucking models wrestling. And it's not to say that Sasha Banks can't wrestle. It's just how do you get this far in wrestling where you don't fucking think, why was he so famous? Why was she so famous? Oh, it's because they could do multiple moves. Are you fucking brain dead? No, there's an art to it, just like everything else.
Why are they pushing Lana? Of all people.
It's terrible.
Yeah, Lana is terrible, but so is every other fucking person she's.
But the thing is, Lana as fucking terrible as she is, for as bad as it seems,
I think
her character and her in-ring work actually makes sense.
Yes,
because she's terrible. She's just terrible, and it makes sense. But when Sasha Banks come in there and she has no nuance,
that's the story they're telling with her. They're doing a great job of storytelling with her. She's a fucking horrible wrestler. Absolutely fucking horrible. But the people that I'm just going to say this now. Shayna Baszler sucks. She's boring. She doesn't do anything for me.
I mean, I'm going to say she's boring.
Excited. I mean, the person that have Lana wrestling with her is probably the most exciting person that they have in the fucking division, and they won't do anything with her.
Shayna Baszler, even from an NXT standpoint, she's a boring wrestler because she's mat oriented and a lot of rest holds. But at least she kind of encapsulates the character way more than a lot of wrestlers.
Well, she's
Like,
way better. She's way better than fucking Lana or Nia Jax. She's not better than Asuka. Because Asuka is one of the best wrestlers in the world.
but Asuka, like
That-
you look at
Shayna
Asuka.
Baszler's not a wrestler, she don't have a wrestling background. That's probably why.
I don't really care. Okay, thing is, I don't really care. I will never care about people like Lana in wrestling, whether it's Lana or a guy that's in the similar sphere. They just don't. They don't, like they will never move the meter for me any way or the other. And I know what they're being used for, and that's fine. Lana, I don't give a shit about. I will never care about. Like when it comes to like this is what frustrates me, and this is what I was trying to get across with like the women's wrestling thing. Like they went super heavy on this evolution of women's wrestling, and then I saw the women of wrestling accept a role that is that they were trying to strive past. They're like, okay, you know what? Women's wrestling, treat us like wrestlers. But here is the photo of me with my tits hanging out on Playboy, or like somewhat similar, constantly. That's all they fucking do. It's like, yeah, because they're self-absorbed assholes. But like at the same time, it's like, holy fucking Christ, man, you can't do both.
I think, yeah, I think they trying to do both. They trying to be a wrestler, but also be their own personal self outside of wrestling. That's where you get all those pictures on Instagram and stuff like that.
And I
you
guess
get
that's
what I'm saying?
Like, yeah. It's what frustrates me because like you can't have this big vocal voice trying to be like, oh, you know, it's women in wrestling, it's women in wrestling. But yes, don't forget we're also here for tits and ass.
But you gotta
never forget
also
that.
understand it, and I think Undertaker said it best. This is modern day wrestling mentality. See, Undertaker and the way y'all thinking, most of us think is old school. You're that character.
Well, no,
because
like,
character.
Because what they're presenting isn't old school. What they're presenting is before Attitude Era and even during Attitude Era, tits and ass. Like the women's division has regressed in the last 2 years.
The women's division
when it was progressing.
I honestly
disagree.
disagree.
Jump on fucking Twitter and you see it. Oh, Sasha Banks is the face of the women's division. Is she really?
No, but I feel like some of it is the beast that is social media.
No, it's not. No. I mean to phrase that. It's the Sasha Banks is the face of WWE. Are you fucking high as fuck? I mean, come on, people. And use your fucking head for like 2 fucking seconds. And it's these people that seem to think that fucking women's wrestling is the end all be all of wrestling. This is the epitome of where we have come. We have evolutionized to women's wrestling, and that is the end.
I'm gonna say something that we'll see how people feel, but I'm gonna tell you right now, women's wrestling is like it's just step below men's wrestling.
It's just there.
But like the good thing is, like when I say a step below men's wrestling, I say it like it's gonna. I say it like it used to be a million steps below. Right? Yes. Like I mean, I still feel like just the athleticism of men's wrestling is going to always trump women's wrestling, but the storyline. There's the storyline, and some women are fucking athletic beasts and are great, but like the problem is we've moved away from that. Women's wrestling has moved away from it moved away from like the thing that NXT created with women's wrestling being like we can be on the same platform as the men, we can main event, we can do this, we're cool, and then they went from that to being. Have you seen me on Men's Fitness or Playgirl or Playboy or in a